All right, so we're going to try this again. Right now, we're going to talk about the explorers and the specific places that they explored, and we're going to take a look at some of those. We're going to start out with the Portuguese explorers. The first of these is a guy named Bartholomew Diaz. Bartholomew Diaz set out in 1488, and he explored Africa. And the reason he's significant, we'll back up, and I'll show you guys his route here in just a second. But the reason he is significant is because he discovered a place called the Cape of Good Hope. His crew had been tossed about and tossed and turned, and all kinds of bad stuff had happened to them. And then they got to the southern tip of Africa, and things just got better for them. And so that's why it's called the Cape of Good Hope. They had hoped that they could do better. So let me show you his route real quick. Back here, you guys can see here, 1487. This is his route here, and he discovers the Cape of Good Hope. Routes in the 1430s through the 1480s are, of course, Prince Henry of Sarge's setting out his people trying to explore Africa and really settle down in Africa and explore there to meet up with Prester John. Okay, the second significant explorer that we're going to look at is Vasco de Gama. Vasco de Gama plays a pretty vital role in Portuguese exploration in particular, but in the world, obviously. He's made a couple trips from 1497, or one major trip, 1497, 1498, and he explored the Indian Ocean. What he is best known for is taking a water route all the way to India, and he established Portuguese trading posts in India. And if you remember talking about the motive, the main motive there was to establish spice trade and spice ports to gain wealth. And so the Portuguese were able to do that in India by and large due to Vasco da Gama. So let me go back and I'll show you his routes real quick. But we can see those. You can see he swept all the way out here, and then ends up going across here. So that's pretty vital to the Portuguese as well. All right, so let's talk about a couple of important Spaniards. Christopher Columbus. Everybody knows him. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and all that good stuff. But anyway, he made several trips, more than that. And he went to his deathbed believing that he had went to Asia. The important thing to remember is that these guys were going to Asia to trade in spices. That was their goal. Columbus in particular never thought that he went to the New World. This is not what he had thought he was. He died knowing that. We'll get into some more details about his life specifically tomorrow when we read some primary sources. But it's important to know that he explored the Caribbean and went from place to place there, and to be honest, he really treated the natives pretty badly. But again, that's through Western eyes, that's through our modern day eyes, and so he didn't really see things the same way we see them. He's credited obviously for discovering the New World, even though, like I said, he didn't actually. For one, he didn't think he had found the New World, and for two, he wasn't the first here. Obviously, there were people already here, so how could he discover something that wasn't there? But he really opened it up, obviously, to explorers. The next one is Hernando Cortes. He's the first of the significant conquistadors when we talk about the cycle of exploration and colonization. Tomorrow, what you're going to see is that these guys play a role in that they basically lay the ground. Explorers go in, they check things out, and the conquistadors come in and they subjugate all the native people and say, nope, we're in control, we're taking this land, and this is ours. His major expeditions in 1518 to Central America, what's today Mexico, and he conquers the Aztecs. There's a couple of songs we might listen to, Cortez the Killer. He goes in and he completely and totally subjugates the Aztecs. If you look at Aztec or Central American history and the history of those natives there, what you see is that the people were really kind of used to being ruled harshly. The Aztec governed their people pretty harshly, And so when the conquistadors came in, it was really trading one group for another. Next significant Spaniard is a guy named Francisco Pizarro. Pizarro plays a vital role because he explores the western edge of South America, the area where the Incas were, and he explores that part of the world, and he conquers the Incans for the Spanish. He obviously goes on several expeditions, or rather one long expedition from 1530 to 1533. And again, it's that western edge of South America. And he conquers the Incas. The Incas fought. The Incans tried to appease them, really, but that didn't work for too long. The Spaniards just kept wanting more and more gold. They've been told that there were these storehouses and rooms and streets, etc., paved with gold, and so they wanted them. And he subjugated them. Lastly but not leastly is Ferdinand Magellan. Magellan, if you've got a little GPS, Magellan's the guy who a lot of people have a GPS name of Magellan. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's because Magellan sailed the globe. He's the first to, at least his crew is the first to circumnavigate the globe. He died in 1521. They set sail in 1519. He died in 1521, but his crew eventually made it all the way around the globe, and that's why, you know, we look at it and say he explored, quote unquote, the globe. And again, his crew is the first to circumnavigate the globe. Now we're going to talk about some of the English explorers. In their role, obviously, we speak English. We were settled by the English and not the Spaniards. We'll get a little bit more into that later. But the first guy we're going to talk about is Francis Drake. His main expeditions and explorations were in the 1570s and 1580s. He explored all over the place. He explored Africa for the Queen Elizabeth. Some people say that maybe he had something going on with Queen Elizabeth. He explored the Caribbean, and he also circumnavigated the world. He's significant for several reasons. One, slave trade. He was a slave trader. That's how he made a lot of wealth. That's how he got wealthy. He had a group of people called the Sea Dogs that were kind of his followers, his crew, and those guys were not necessarily the nicest people in the world, but they were basically pirates. They would take over ships, they would conquer other people's ships and take them from them, and well, they were pirates. Anytime you think of a pirate, well, that's kind of what you're looking at. He also led Elizabeth's ship in Spanish Navy, or English Navy rather, in defeating the Spanish Armada. The Spanish Armada in 1588 was the largest seafaring navy, obviously largest navy in the world, and through Drake's leadership, the English were able to defeat them and become the dominant world power. The Spaniards just kind of tucked their tails between their legs and went back to governing the New World in Latin America, what becomes Latin America, South America, and the English kind of take over in North America. And that really kind of lays the groundwork for why we speak English now and not Spanish. Second major guy is John Cabot. He's actually another Italian, just like Christopher Columbus. John Cabot made his voyage in 1497, so he's not, obviously, he wasn't the first, but he was one of the first English guys sailing for England to explore the world. He came, obviously, before Francis Drake. And Cabot explored northern North America, and here was his logic. He went to the northern part of North America, Maine, up around the 45th, I think, degree parallel, degree latitude. And so what he did was this: he explored the north. He said, okay, let's make this. Let's think about this. The latitude lines, or longitude lines rather, are closer together. They're closer to get to the top of the globe. So it only makes sense that it's going to be a shorter route to Asia, to all those spices, to all those things we talked about earlier, if we go through the north. And so that's why he went to the north. Next, we have Henry Hudson. Hudson Bay in Canada is named for him. He explored North America as well, and what he was searching for was a sea route, all sea route to Asia through the north. Kept looking for it. It's cold. If you look at a map of the north, it's really cold up there. So you're looking at going through the Hudson Bay in the winter, even in the summer, it's pretty cold. And his crew didn't take too kindly to that, so he was searching for that, and it's called the Northern Passage to Asia, and his crew got tired of it. And you can see a picture here of him and his son. His crew actually ends up revolting, mutinying against him, putting him and a couple of guys that were faithful to him in a boat and putting them out, and they were never heard from again. So there's a painting there. Obviously nobody's there to witness it or to be an eyewitness to it. But Cabot, or rather Hudson, was searching for that Northern Passage. His crew got kind of fed up with it and said, we're done. And last but not leastly, we're going to talk about the French explorers. One French explorer, here is Jacques, and that's all we're going to talk about, is Jacques Cartier. Cartier goes on several expeditions for the French. You can see the dates there, 34, 35, and 36, and then again in 41 and 42, 41 to 42. And he explores the heart, the meat of North America. The land that we purchased from the French from Napoleon, that Thomas Jefferson did, largely comes through Cartier's exploration. He's the one that quote unquote discovered America, Canada, and explored it and claimed it for the French, and that's why Quebec today speaks French and not English is also an adopted language there again. So here are the major explorers. We've divided it up by country, and there you go. Have a great day.